GOP senators are not holding back as pressure mounts in Washington to take on big tech. This is coming following yesterday's blockbuster verdict in Los Angeles, where the jury found Meta and YouTube liable for harming a teen's mental health. Lawmakers and parents are calling on Congress to scrap Section 230. That law protects social media companies from being sued over what users post. Jonathan Haidt, psychologist and author of The Anxious Generation, has been sounding the alarm on this for years, and he joins us here now. I want you to react to not only the verdict, but Josh Hawley there calling for more regulation, more to come out of Washington on this. It's harder to change legislation because you need more consensus, but a jury verdict, a court verdict like this also can get the companies to change their behavior. Your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. Well, first, it's important to understand that Congress created this problem in the 1990s. Congress passed two laws. So Section 230, as you've referred to, that gave these companies a shield. No one could sue them for pretty much anything that happened to a kid on the platform. And so if you give a company a shield from liability, you give a whole industry a shield from liability, and then 2 years later, in 1998, was the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, that told the companies, you can take data from any child without their parents' permission, as long as the child says she's 13. You don't need to check. You don't need to know. If the kid says it, you can take it. So what kind of industry did we get? We got a social industry media, which, as Senator Hawley said, is scumbags. Certainly Meta, what came out in the trial, here, I'll just read you one of the quotes from Meta employees. The case hinged on addiction. Was this product designed to be addictive? Here's a quote from some Meta researchers. Let's see. Oh my gosh, y'all, Instagram is a drug. We're basically pushers. We're causing reward deficit disorder. Anyway, so what we learned is that the companies really behaved abominably. Congress created the problem. And now I'm thrilled to see tweets and statements from senators and congressmen on both parties who are saying, we got to do something about this.
Another question I have just coming from the trial, Jonathan, is $6 million hardly feels punitive. I think $3 million of that was punitive. When you're looking at, I'll just take Meta, for example, last year pulled in $600 billion in revenue. The bottom line net income was $61 billion. Did that get the right message across, or are you looking at this and thinking, okay, at least it's one step in the right direction?
Oh, well, this is one person, one young woman who lost her childhood, and the jury decided that Meta should pay her this much. There are thousands of cases behind hers with different kinds of harm. And in my research, my team and I at The Anxious Generation, we believe that there are literally millions of victims. These companies have damaged an entire generation. They've diminished, I should say, an entire generation, but hundreds of kids are dead. From product design. I'm guessing when the cases come in which it's a child who was driven to suicide or died from a fentanyl overdose, I'm guessing juries will award even larger verdicts. But the point is, if there are literally millions of potential plaintiffs and they each could be awarded millions of dollars, that begins to add up. And that isn't even counting 40 states are suing for all the damages, all the medical costs, all the lost labor that they're facing, and hundreds of school districts, because this stuff has devastated education. So I think we're looking at a giant case of karma coming for these companies. They were able to exploit kids for decades, and now their deeds are catching up with them.
Jonathan, your research has been really helpful to me and my wife as parents, and I appreciate that, mostly on the side of giving us things to think about that we can do on our own, okay? Not so much suing these companies, but what do we do in our own household? I wonder if you think these decisions are going to give parents more wherewithal to draw harder boundaries for their kids or push back on social mores and societal pressures that have developed around social media.
Yes, I'm 100% certain that will happen because I'm a social psychologist and we study how people affect each other. And when people aren't sure that there's an emergency, when people aren't sure that this bad thing is happening, there's ambiguity, they tend to do nothing. But now what we're seeing is so many people are standing up. Two juries in a row said Meta is guilty. When you see lots of other people standing up, it becomes like the emperor's new clothes. When everybody starts saying, wait, the emperor has no clothes, that's when we all know, oh, you saw that too. So I think this month, with the multiple jury verdicts and with the Australia bill taking effect, where they raised the age to 16 and 12 countries are following, we are at a turning point. There is now a global understanding that this stuff is just wildly inappropriate for children. Children should not be on platforms talking with anonymous strangers. It's just not, there's no way to make that safe.
But Jonathan, it's Dagan McDowell. We started with Senator Josh Hawley. These politicians have known this for years and years. And I'll go back to the reporting from the Wall Street Journal, who uncovered a lot of these documents. Facebook knew Instagram was toxic for teen girls, company documents show. That was 2021. 23, Instagram connects vast pedophile network. Instagram's algorithm delivers toxic video mix to adults who follow children. And it was back in 2017 in 2 instances where on Facebook Live, and in one, a father murdered on live video his infant, his 11-month-old daughter. And again, it was very obvious that Facebook was reckless, negligent, and then when it got caught, it would go, oh, we didn't know, but the politicians knew, and they'd never have done anything.
Well, that's right, because, you know, a democracy is not very good at saying, oh, look, there's a problem, let's fix it. The legislators respond to pressures. A lot of those pressures came from Meta and Google and others that were spending huge amounts of money to influence them, to stop them. They spend huge amounts of money to muddy the waters, just like the tobacco companies did, to make it seem like, well, we don't know. The data is just correlational. We don't know if it's harming. So they tried to confuse things for a long time, and that allowed Congress to not act, to not clean up the mess that it created in the 1990s. But again, we are now at the moment when the entire world has seen that the emperor has no clothes, these companies have no defense, and we're seeing that everybody else is upset about it. So what I've seen happening around the world and across many of the 50 states is that the legislators and the governors, they were afraid to get too far out ahead a few years ago, like, well, you know, ban social media for under 16, like, whoa, you know, there'd be a reaction to that. A few years ago, they didn't want to get too far out ahead. But what's happened in the last really 3 months is it's now clear the people, the parents of the world, are so far out ahead of their legislators in calling for change and calling for help. We parents can't deal with this on our own. We're all having the same fight with our kids. We didn't ask for this. It's horrible, and we need help. So I think we're now at a turning point, and I'm thrilled to see that even Congress, there's a lot of, I think, many signs that even the U.S. Congress is going to get in on the act and start trying to protect kids and families.
Jackie, I just want to add one thing. All Congress and these regulators and these legislators had to do is prevent Facebook from buying Instagram back in 2012. That's all they had to do.
No, that's a great point. Just on the final point, Jonathan, I wanted to ask you about the jury awards, because I saw the headline the night before we got the verdict in this case in Los Angeles from New Mexico, where the jury awarded $375 million in a child exploitation case. So obviously the facts were a little bit different than this one, and juries are different and they value things differently. But when I think about, you know, we're a business network, we all are very passionate about the social aspect of this, but we also are looking at, from a business standpoint of what is the future of these companies, and when they have to deal with situations like this, changing the way that they do business, how could it potentially change their business model? Investors care about that. But I see those two, you know, very staggeringly different numbers, and I know that they'll appeal the cases as well. Does this hurt the companies?
Oh my God, this could be catastrophic for the companies, because there's a really important third court case that was settled 3 or 4 weeks ago in Delaware. Meta has insurance. They have Chubb and a bunch of other companies have insured Meta. Well, the insurers, now that they're seeing all the evidence coming out, now that they're seeing that Meta did this deliberately, Meta knew what it was doing, and it kept going in addicting kids and exposing them to predators. And so the insurance companies brought suit in Delaware to say, we shouldn't have to pay their expenses because this wasn't an accident. And the insurers won. So Meta has no insurance. Meta is going to have to pay whatever fines. Meta is going to have to pay it out of their money or the shareholders' money. And the New Mexico case, $375 million, that was based on the number of kids in New Mexico harmed at something like 18,000 per person, because Meta has harmed possibly most children, not to the degree of Kaylee in the Los Angeles case, but the number of kids exposed to sexual predation is so high that 375 is for a small state. New Mexico doesn't have a lot of people in it. Florida, 40 of these states are suing. Florida, New York, these have a lot more people, meaning that if they use the same formula, the damage is going to be in the billions for each state. And so I think I mean, I can't do the math here. I don't know the numbers, but we are looking at many, many billions of dollars that I think are going to be awarded in the next year.
Really fantastic. Jonathan, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you breaking that all down for us.
My pleasure. Thank you for bringing it out.